Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you the fastest way to drive a man absolutely crazy is not by texting more, not by calling more, not by chasing harder, but by doing the exact opposite? Imagine the power of pulling back, saying nothing, and letting silence speak louder than any words you could ever send. Today I'm going to show you why no text and no calls might just be the most magnetic move you've ever made. Imagine this, you've been pouring energy into a connection, giving your time, your attention, maybe even your heart. You've been the one sending the first text, the one checking in, the one making sure the communication stays alive. And suddenly it feels like you're carrying it all. That spark you felt at the beginning, it starts to feel one-sided. That flow of energy that should come from both people, it starts to slow. And here's the truth. You can't create attraction by chasing it down. You can't pull someone closer by clinging harder. What you can do is create the kind of space that allows them to remember what they stand to lose. When you stop texting, when you stop calling, something shifts. It's not a game, it's not manipulation. It's about breaking the pattern. Human beings get used to what's consistently available. If you're always there, always responding instantly, always initiating, your presence becomes like background noise. Constant, reliable, expected. And what is expected is rarely cherished. Think about it. The songs you love most are the ones you choose to play again, not the ones that blare on repeat without pause. Silence in between makes you crave the sound. Now, the moment you step back, the dynamic changes. He has a gap to fill. The energy you once poured into reaching out, that absence creates space for him to act. And let me be clear, if he never fills that space, that's an answer in itself. But if there's genuine interest, if he truly values you, silence becomes louder than any words. He starts to wonder where your energy went, what you're doing, who you're with, and that wondering fuels desire. This isn't about punishment. This isn't about withholding affection to control. It's about reminding yourself that your time, your attention, your love are not on-demand commodities. They are gifts, gifts that should be reciprocated, respected, and treasured. By pulling back, you show that your world is bigger than one person. You demonstrate that you don't need to chase because your life is already full, vibrant, and worth his effort to be a part of. The power of no text, no calls lies not in the silence itself, but in what it represents. It says, I'm not here to audition for you. I'm not here to prove my worth by blowing up your phone. I'm here to live my life, and if you want to be part of it, step up. Picture this. He's used to the rhythm of your communication. He wakes up, sees your name. Lunchtime comes, there you are. End of the day, a sweet message from you. And then suddenly, nothing. His phone stays quiet. Hours pass. A day passes. That automatic comfort he once felt starts to erode. He scrolls back to your old texts, remembering the way you made him feel. He thinks, why haven't I heard from her? That curiosity stirs his emotions, and emotions lead to action. And this is where your strength comes in. Because in that silence, it can be tempting to break first, to send that, hey, just checking in text, to rationalize that you're only being kind, only showing interest. But that tiny action undoes the entire shift. By reaching out again, you reinforce the old pattern where he doesn't need to invest because you're already doing it all. Your silence is a mirror. It reflects back to him the level of energy he's been giving. And in that reflection, he has to make a choice. Step forward, RD, or let the connection fade. Either way, you win, because you're not wasting time trying to light a fire under someone who won't strike a match. You're giving yourself the clarity you deserve. What's even more powerful is that no text, no calls isn't just about him, it's about you. It's about reclaiming all the hours you would have spent waiting, checking, rereading. It's about redirecting that energy into your passions, your friendships, your goals. Because when you fill your life with things that light you up, you radiate an energy that no silence can dull. That energy is magnetic. It draws the right people toward you, not because you chased, but because you became the kind of person who is worth chasing. Understand this, attraction doesn't thrive in comfort. It thrives in curiosity, in unpredictability, in the thrill of discovery. By always being the one to reach out, you rob him of the chance to pursue. But when you step back, you hand him the gift of mystery. He starts to imagine, he starts to miss. And missing you is the first step to valuing you. Now, does that mean you cut all communication forever? Of course not. Relationships are built on reciprocity, not silence. But it does mean that you resist the urge to carry the weight alone. You allow space for the other person to reveal their intentions through their actions, not just their words. You give them the opportunity to prove that they see you as worth the effort. Think of it like a dance. If one partner keeps moving forward while the other stands still, it stops being a dance, it becomes a chase. But when both partners take steps, give and take, move and respond, that's when the rhythm comes alive. Silence is your way of stepping back and saying your turn. And here's the beauty. If he rises to the challenge, you haven't lost anything. In fact, you've gained respect, balance and clarity. If he doesn't, then you've gained something even more valuable. You've freed yourself to find someone who will. Either way, your silence serves you. So the next time your fingers itch to send that message, pause. Remind yourself of your worth. Remind yourself that love isn't proven through pursuit alone, but through the willingness to meet each other halfway. And in that pause, trust that the right person will never need to be chased. They will come running on their own. And in that pause, something else begins to happen. You start to see yourself differently. You realize that every time you resist the urge to send that text, every time you let the silence linger, you're not just showing him your value, you're proving it to yourself. You're reinforcing a belief that says, I am worthy of being pursued. I am worthy of being thought about. I am worthy of being missed. That belief is magnetic because it changes the way you carry yourself. Think about how you feel when you're constantly the one initiating. Deep down, it starts to erode your confidence. It makes you question, does he really care? Am I doing too much? Am I not enough? That spiral doesn't just affect the relationship, it seeps into your self-esteem. But when you pull back, when you stop reaching out, you cut off that spiral at the root. You're no longer measuring your value by the speed of his replies or the length of his messages. You start to measure it by the love you're giving yourself in choosing not to chase. Silence, then, becomes an act of self-respect. And that self-respect is incredibly attractive. It's the difference between someone who says, I'll take whatever scraps of attention I can get, and someone who says, if you want my time, you'll need to step up. The second kind of person radiates an energy that makes others lean in. That energy says, I don't need you to complete me, I'm already whole. And that's irresistible. Now let's be real, the first few days of pulling back can feel excruciating. You might catch yourself checking your phone every few minutes, hoping for that buzz, wondering if the silence is working. But here's where your focus needs to shift. Instead of waiting, start filling that space with things that feed you. Call a friend who makes you laugh. Go take that class you've been putting off. Dive into a project that excites you. The more you pour into your own life, the less you notice the silence. And paradoxically, the less you notice it, the louder it becomes for him. There's something incredibly powerful about someone who can step away without explanation. It sparks curiosity. It forces the other person to think, what's going on in her world that doesn't involve me? And that question is what reignites attraction. People value what they fear losing, and they pursue what they can't fully predict. By not being predictable, by not being constantly available, you create that sense of mystery. And mystery isn't manipulation, it's the natural byproduct of living a full life that doesn't revolve around one person. This is also about reclaiming balance. In every relationship, there's an invisible scale of effort. If one person keeps tipping it by doing all the work, the other starts to relax, knowing they don't need to contribute as much. But the moment you step back, the scale wobbles. That imbalance forces a reaction. He either leans in to steady it or he lets it fall. Either way, you get the truth. And truth is always better than illusions. Ask yourself, What's the point of constant communication if it's not matched with genuine effort? Do you really want to build a connection where you're always the one keeping it alive? Or would you rather stand in your worth and attract someone who naturally meets you halfway? That's the beauty of silence. It clarifies the answers. And here's another truth. Attraction is built on contrast. Just as you can't appreciate light without darkness, you can't truly crave someone's presence without their absence. If you're always there, always available, there's no contrast. But when you step back, when you allow silence, the moments of connection become richer, deeper, more appreciated. He doesn't just enjoy your presence, he savors it because it's no longer guaranteed. There's a strength in not rushing to fill the gaps, in holding yourself back even when you want to reach out. That strength is what separates someone who settles for breadcrumbs from someone who demands the feast. And demanding the feast doesn't mean arrogance. It means knowing that your love, your time, your presence are too valuable to be handed out without reciprocation. Now imagine this scenario. A week passes. You haven't texted, you haven't called, you've focused on yourself, on your life, and suddenly his name lights up your screen. That message doesn't come because you begged for it or because you reminded him. It comes because he chose to send it. And that choice means everything, because now you know it's not obligation, it's desire. He reached out because he missed you, not because you prompted him to. That's the difference between chasing and attracting. But there's another possibility. Maybe that message never comes. Maybe he doesn't reach out at all. And while that may sting, it's also liberating. Because now you see the truth. You see that you were investing in someone who wasn't willing to invest back. And instead of wasting months, maybe even years, trying to make it work, you've freed yourself to find someone who will actually show up for you. Silence reveals character. It reveals priorities. It reveals who's truly in it and who's just passing time. What you have to remember is that your silence is not a void. It's a canvas that you get to fill with the colors of your own life. And when you fill it boldly, beautifully, vibrantly, anyone who looks at it will be drawn in. They'll want to be part of that masterpiece. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to stand in front of it anyway. This is why no text, no calls isn't just a tactic, it's a mindset. It's about refusing to pour energy into places where it's not reciprocated. It's about breaking the habit of chasing validation and instead creating a life so rich that others naturally want to be part of it. It's about stepping back and allowing the right people to step forward. And when you master that mindset, everything changes. You stop panicking over every unread message. You stop obsessing over how long it takes for someone to reply. You stop tying your self-worth to the notifications on your phone. Instead, you start tying it to the way you live, the choices you make, the joy you create for yourself. And that shift doesn't just make him go crazy wondering what you're up to. It makes you fall in love with your own life. Because here's the ultimate secret. The more you fall in love with your own life, the less you feel the need to chase anyone. And ironically, that's exactly what makes people chase you. They sense your independence, your fulfillment, your self-respect, and they want to be near it. They want to earn a place in it. So every time you're tempted to break the silence, remind yourself of this. What you're really doing is protecting your energy. You're refusing to spend it recklessly. You're choosing to invest it only where it grows. That choice is what separates a fleeting connection from a lasting one. It's what separates someone who drains you from someone who cherishes you. And it all starts with the courage to put the phone down, resist the urge, and trust that silence speaks louder than any words you could send. But here's what most people don't realize. Silence isn't just about the absence of communication with him. It's about the presence of communication with yourself. When you stop reaching outward, you're forced to look inward. You start asking questions you might have been avoiding while you were distracted by sending that next message. What do I really want? What am I truly looking for? Do I feel valued here, or am I clinging to the hope that he'll one day wake up and see my worth? Those are uncomfortable questions, but they are necessary ones. Because it's in those moments of discomfort that you begin to reconnect with your own truth. The truth that says you deserve consistency. The truth that says you deserve reciprocity. The truth that says you are not here to be someone's option when you're already capable of being someone's priority. And when you allow silence to guide you back to that truth, you start to notice something powerful. The anxiety you once felt about whether he would call begins to fade. At first, it's subtle. You'll still think about it, still feel that itch to break the quiet. But day by day, as you pour more energy into yourself, you realize that your happiness no longer depends on his reply. You've built something stronger than that. You've built a foundation of self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic. It shows up in the way you walk into a room, the way you carry yourself in conversation, the way you laugh without worrying about who's watching. It's the difference between needing someone to validate you and inviting someone to join you in a life you already love. People are drawn to that energy like moths to a flame, not because you're chasing, but because you're shining. Now, silence doesn't mean indifference. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care enough about yourself to create space for clarity. Think about it. If you're always speaking, always explaining, always proving, when do you ever get to hear what someone else has to say? Silence forces the other person to reveal themselves. In that space, you see their priorities. You see their effort. You see whether they're willing to meet you where you are, or whether they vanish when the easy attention is gone. And here's where your power truly lies. By saying nothing, you say everything. Bang. You say, I will not beg for love. I will not chase respect. I will not audition for the role of someone's partner when I know I already embody the qualities of one. That kind of silent statement is louder than any paragraph you could type. It commands attention because it comes from strength, not fear. Imagine the shift in dynamic when he realizes he no longer has you on standby. He can't just assume your message will come through, can't just expect your voice will always reach out. That realization plants a seed of uncertainty in his mind, and uncertainty is what drives pursuit. It makes him think, what if she's moving on? What if someone else has her attention? What if I waited too long to appreciate her? Those questions stir urgency, and urgency leads to action. But here's the catch. You cannot fake this. You cannot sit in silence while secretly obsessing, waiting, and watching the clock. The power of silence only works when it's paired with genuine self-investment. When your life is so full, so exciting, so rewarding that you aren't simply waiting for a text, you're busy living. That authenticity is what makes your silence unshakable, and that's what makes him feel the difference. It's the same principle as scarcity. When something is rare, it becomes valuable. When something is everywhere, it's taken for granted. If you're constantly available, your presence loses weight. But when you pull back, when your attention becomes rare, its value skyrockets. Suddenly, every interaction with you feels more meaningful because it's no longer guaranteed. And this is where you must ask yourself, what kind of connection do I want to build? One where my presence is expected but not appreciated, or one where my presence is cherished because it's recognized as a privilege, not a guarantee? That choice is yours, and silence is the path to making it clear. Think about the times in your life when someone pulled away from you. How did it make you feel? Chances are you didn't forget about them. You thought about them more. You replayed memo. Analyzed conversations, wondered why the energy shifted. That's the natural response to losing what was once freely given. And the same happens here. Your absence doesn't erase you from his mind. It magnifies you. It makes him remember the things he overlooked when your attention was constant. But let's take this deeper. Silence isn't just about how he reacts. It's about how you transform. Because in this quiet space, you discover resilience. You learn that you can survive the discomfort of not knowing. You learn that you can thrive without reassurance. You learn that your peace is worth more than a string of half-hearted texts. That lesson changes everything because once you learn it, you stop settling for less. From that point on, you stop giving unlimited access to people who don't value it. You stop answering calls at midnight from someone who couldn't be bothered during the day. You stop rearranging your life for someone who won't even rearrange their schedule to see you. Silence teaches you boundaries. It teaches you that not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. And the moment you enforce those boundaries, something incredible happens. Your standards rise. You no longer feel desperate for attention because you know what you bring to the table. You know that your energy, your love, your care are precious. And if someone can't recognize that, they lose access. That's the power of no text, no calls. It filters out the ones who aren't serious and makes space for the ones who are. There's a profound confidence that comes with this mindset. It's the kind of confidence that says, I don't need constant validation to know my worth. I don't need to chase affection to prove I'm lovable. I already know what I deserve and I'm willing to wait for it. That energy is rare, and because it's rare, it commands respect. And let's not forget, silence is not a one-time move. It's not something you use just to get a reaction. It's a principle. It's the ability to pull back anytime you feel that balance tipping. Anytime you sense you're giving more than you're receiving, anytime you notice you're doing the chasing instead of being pursued, that's when silence becomes your reset button. It allows you to recalibrate the dynamic without saying a word. Every relationship, every connection, every bond is a reflection of what you're willing to tolerate. If you keep chasing, you teach him that he can give you the bare minimum and still have you. But when you stop, when you go silent, you teach him something different. You teach him that your love is a privilege, not a guarantee. You teach him that your attention must be earned. You teach him that if he wants you, he has to show up. And the most beautiful part, you don't need to explain this lesson. You don't need a long speech or a dramatic confrontation. Your silence says it all. It's calm, it's confident, and it's undeniable. It's the quiet power of someone who knows their worth and refuses to compromise it for crumbs. And when you embody that kind of quiet power, you stop fearing loss. You stop fearing what happens if he doesn't reach out. Because you realize that silence isn't about losing him, it's about finding you. It's about finding the version of yourself who doesn't settle, who doesn't cling, who doesn't measure her value by someone else's attention. That discovery is priceless. Once you touch it, you never go back to the old ways of begging for reassurance. This is the moment where you flip the dynamic. Instead of asking, will he text me? Will he call me? Will he choose me? You start asking, do I even want him if I have to question this much? Do his actions align with the kind of love I deserve? Is he showing me through consistency that he sees my value? The second set of questions puts you back in control. You're no longer the one waiting for approval. You're the one deciding if he's earned the privilege of your presence. And here's the irony, when you stop waiting for approval, that's when you get it. Because people are wired to pursue what feels uncertain. If he believes he has you no matter what, he has no urgency to act. But the second he feels you slipping, the second he notices the silence, urgency takes over. He starts wondering if he's losing something special. And the fear of loss is often more powerful than the promise of gain. That fear pushes him to move, to call, to text, to try harder. But the point of this isn't just to make him chase. The point is to see who he becomes when you give him the chance to. Because chasing isn't everything. Consistency is. Anyone can get stirred into action once. But the real question is, once he comes back, does he stay consistent? Does he rise to the level you deserve? Or does he slip back into old patterns, waiting for you to carry the weight again? That's what silence reveals, not just his interest, but his ability to maintain it. And you deserve maintenance. You deserve a connection where effort doesn't fade the moment comfort sets in. You deserve someone who continues to show up, not because you begged them to, but because they value you enough to never take you for granted. Silence is the filter that separates those who only want the thrill of the chase from those who are truly capable of sustaining love. It's also important to recognize that silence doesn't always feel comfortable. Sometimes it feels like an ache in your chest, a restlessness in your fingers as you hover over the keyboard. But that ache is temporary. It's the growing pain of stepping into a stronger version of yourself. It's the discomfort that comes with breaking old habits of over-giving and over-chasing. And once you get past it, you step into a freedom that's unshakable. Think of it like this: silence is a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger you get. At first, holding back feels impossible. You might slip, you might send that text, but every time you resist, every time you let the silence stretch, you build resilience. And over time, you reach a point where you don't even have to resist. You simply don't feel the urge anymore, because you've trained yourself to trust that your value doesn't diminish when you stop reaching out. In fact, it grows. And while you're building this muscle, something else happens. You begin to notice who else is drawn into your orbit, because when you stop pouring all of your energy into one person, you suddenly have energy to notice others. Maybe it's the friend who's always been there. Maybe it's someone new who shows you consistency without you having to ask for it. Or maybe it's simply you realizing that your own company is enough. Either way, your world expands. And in that expansion, you stop obsessing over one person's silence because you realize how much abundance surrounds you. This is the paradox of silence. The more you embrace it, the less you fear it. What once felt like emptiness starts to feel like space. Space to breathe, space to grow, space to reconnect with yourself. And the more space you allow, the more powerful your presence becomes when you do choose to engage. Because now when you send a text, it carries weight. When you answer a call, it feels intentional. When you show up, it matters. Your energy is no longer scattered. It's focused, deliberate, precious. And people feel that. They feel the difference between someone who's always available out of fear and someone who chooses to be available out of strength. The first one breeds complacency. The second one breeds respect. And respect is the foundation of every meaningful connection. There's another layer to this that often goes unnoticed. Silence doesn't just show you who values you, it shows you how much you value yourself. Because every time you choose silence over chasing, you're affirming that your time and energy are too important to waste. You're reminding yourself that you are not here to convince someone of your worth. You're here to share your worth with someone who already sees it. That's a profound act of self-love. And self-love is contagious. The moment you start treating yourself as valuable, others follow your lead. They rise to meet the standard you've set. Or if they can't, they naturally fall away. Either outcome is a win, because you're no longer stuck in limbo, waiting for crumbs. You're living in clarity, surrounded by people who match your energy. This is why silence is so powerful. It's not passive, it's not weak. It's one of the strongest choices you can make. It requires patience, discipline, and faith in your own value. It requires you to believe that you don't need to chase love to deserve it. That belief alone can change the entire trajectory of your relationships. And here's the truth you need to hold on to. The right person will never be scared off by your silence. They won't vanish because you stopped calling. They won't disappear because you gave them space to pursue. The right person will step forward. They'll notice the silence, and instead of retreating, they'll fill it. Not just once, but consistently. Because real connection doesn't need to be chased, it needs to be met. So every time you doubt, every time you feel the urge to reach out first, remember what silence represents. It represents strength. It represents clarity. It represents a refusal to lower your standards. It's not about playing games. It's about protecting your peace. It's about living a life so full that someone else has to earn the right to be part of it. And when you stand in that truth, silence is no longer scary. It's empowering. It's no longer an empty void. It's a powerful statement. It's the quiet reminder that you are not here to chase. You are here to choose,